Hey, how's it going? And today I just wanted to show you this new chair device. The people at Epic Games have been busy just adding feature after feature after feature, and it's almost like a full-time job to keep up with them. But anyway, they've added this chair device, and it's really interesting. It's really got me thinking about things. And if you go into the documentation here, they talk about it and give you some code, and it's not terribly complicated. But it says, ways you can use this in your islands include cinemas, concerts, terminal PC interactions, restaurants, roller coaster or rides, wherever you might want your character just in a sitting position, which is really, really interesting. And I've always thought about the player character's ability to sit, because in Unreal Engine, the player character doesn't really have that function. And it would actually, I've thought many times, it'd be very, very nice if the player character had that ability. And I did a tutorial about how to get your Unreal Engine character to sit down. What's interesting about this is that it almost seems like it's teleporting with a chair. So you're literally thrown into the chair, and it's actually not a bad way to get the character in a seating position. You don't see them actually sit in the chair, they're just boom, sitting in the chair. So it's just a really interesting way they're handling it. And I have a really basic setup. I've got a chair, and I've got a signal remote manager, and I've got an item granter that gives the player a remote control. It's the uncommon one, which is the green one. And so the player, when they click remote control, they can sit themselves in the chair. A couple interesting things about the chair device. When you're put into the chair, you're not able to do anything. You become basically disabled. Your character just sits there, and you can look around the scene. You can orbit around yourself and look around, but you can't do anything else. All of your other actions are restricted. And then there's a built-in function where if you hold down E, you can escape out of the chair at any time you want. The rest of this is just a verse device that's paired to our chair. And if we click and look at there's not terribly much to them. You can change the type of chair you have. You can change the interaction time. Looks like there's some team features here. The most important ones probably here is seating the player and ejecting the player. So here I have the signal remote set to seat my player whenever they decide to. You'll see it in the game when it plays. When they press it, they go instantly into the chair, but then they're disabled as far as anything else goes. They're just sitting there. So let's also just take a minute and look at the code that we've got here, which isn't very complicated either. So we just have our editable chair device right here. This is just an example of how when the player is seated into the chair, whenever that happens, it's an event, right, that you could have trigger other events. So here, this isn't really doing anything other than calling down here and just printing a print string. This isn't really doing anything other than showing you that you have this seated event that you can then use to bind to any other things that you want to trigger in your game, so that whenever your player is forcibly seated or is randomly seated, and another event can trigger. So then after that happens, we just have this if statement. This checks to see if the chair is occupied. And if the chair is occupied, it ejects that player from the chair. And then what it does is it goes and gathers all the players in the game and then randomly sits the player into a chair. When my player goes into the game, they'll be subject to this logic. There won't be anybody sitting in the chair, and then they'll be randomly selected and be thrust into the chair. So as soon as I hit play in the game, you'll see in just a minute, my player will be automatically thrust into the chair. And then you'll see I'll be able to get out of the chair. It's interesting. I'm still trying to think of all the ways that you could use this. What I'm thinking about right now is Unreal Engine, and how you could use this same technique to seat your characters in Unreal Engine. So this is a real nifty feature. So what you see in Unreal Editor for Fortnite, I think some of the features are kind of a prelude to what's going to happen with Unreal Engine. For example, Verse is going to go into Unreal Engine 6, and there is no verse in Unreal Engine. It's only in Unreal Editor. So I hope nobody's looking down on Unreal Editor for Fortnite, is what I'm saying. We can go into the game and I can just hit start. Okay, you see how I immediately got put into the chair and I can't do anything. Like if I press one, I can't gather anything. I can sit there passively and that's it. And I can orbit around my character and stuff. I guess they call this free look, but I can't do anything else. And then you see over there, if I press E, I can dismount. And then I'm back into the game. So now I've got my remote control, and this is why I say it's almost like a teleporting device, because it doesn't matter where I am in the game. All I have to do is click the left mouse button, and I'll be sitting in the chair. So I'm going to click it right now. Boom. Right back into the chair, right? So it's an interesting thing. That's why I say it's like a teleporter with a chair. Stay tuned, and I'll talk to you later.